Which website platform is the best one to choose for launching a business ministry in 2026? Have you noticed that there are quite a few options out there? WordPress, Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, Kajabi. The options are quite confusing sometimes if you don't know where to start or what these platforms actually allow you to do. And that is what we are going to cover in this video session. So if you're thinking about starting or launching your online business ministry this year, then you would want to listen to this video so that you can make the best choice for you to launch forward into the vision God has given you. Hi, my name is Adele. I am the founder of Bold Christian Entrepreneur. On this YouTube channel, I share with you hints, tips, and tricks from my experience of being a kingdom entrepreneur for 8 years. The Lord has blessed me with 5 online businesses, and here I share with you those things that He took me through so that you can make the best decisions for your business ministry as you launch forward. So if that's something you're interested in, hit the subscribe button and notifications bell so that you can be notified whenever I release a new video. Now, before we actually unpack what these different platforms do, let's look at a few statistics. Statistics really help already to tell us which of these platforms are the leader when it comes to website design in having an online business. You see, having an online business means your website is your asset. When you have a brick and mortar shop, so let's say you have a grocery shop or you have a mechanic shop, you are in between 4 walls, and that building is your asset of where you're conducting business. But when you're online, you do not have the 4 walls, right? If your whole business is running online, your website is basically your 4 walls. So what you choose fundamentally as your first component is so vital. If you think about if you would rent a space in a building, right, for your business, but that space is very small. Let's say you sell products and you need a warehouse, but the warehouse space that you are renting, it is so small, and now all of a sudden you need to expand. And if you do not have an option where you are living for a greater space, you're going to be limited in your growth. The same is true of websites. If you know that God has given you a very big vision to build something specific for business ministry, and it might include many various different components and many various facets, you definitely do not want to build on a platform that will restrict you like that warehouse example I just gave you. Because if you don't have that capacity to expand, then you're going to be stuck, and then you might need to actually move completely into a different location to expand and allow that expansion from happening. Now, the statistics that we are going to look at is, first of all, when we look at WordPress, Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, and Kajabi, I'm only going to look at these ones because they are the biggest players at the moment when it comes to online businesses. WordPress claims over 43.1% of all websites in the world. All right, so if you think about all the websites that you might see online, 43.1% of all the websites are built on WordPress. Then Shopify, so when you see Shopify websites that sell products, they make up 4.9%. Wix, 3.7%. Squarespace, 2.3 to 2.4%, and Kajabi, 0.1%. Now, listening to those statistics, we can see that WordPress is by far the biggest player in the game when it comes to online websites, and rightly so. WordPress has been that one component that has the most developers alongside it. You see, most of the world's websites are built on it. And so the people are relying on developers to continuously keep an eye on it and run it. It is the most diverse platform, and that is why it comes up at the top of statistics of websites being used. So why is WordPress the top one? So I quickly covered that already by saying that they really do need a lot of developers because so many people are reliant on it. But WordPress is so popular because WordPress allows for self-hosting. It basically creates a whole ecosystem with self-hosted capabilities, meaning it gives you full ownership. WordPress is actually free. You can get a WordPress website for free. It's only hosting that you pay for. So if you think about, again, coming back to a brick and mortar business example, if you own the building, no one can kick you out of the building. But if you rent the building, if the owner of the building decides to sell it, they can kick you and your business out of your rental space. You don't have ownership of it. WordPress is like owning your building. The only difference is that you just need to have a hosting platform for it. And the beautiful thing about that is if you're not happy with one host, or the pricing gets too expensive, or they don't do what they say, you can move your website to any host. There are so many hosting options out there. It is incredible. And so you are not locked in. You really have that freedom when it comes to WordPress website. And WordPress, it is completely open source. It has a massive plugin ecosystem, so you can really integrate pretty much anything that you want and create pretty much anything that you want. Okay, and it basically allows for SEO optimization, experimental structural data, log level access and control, pairing with external tools, and so forth. So basically, putting that in plain jargon for you, when you have WordPress as your own access, you can have unlimited users. You don't pay for every user that you want to add. You can have unlimited subscribers. The only thing that would limit you is the hosting platform for the growth. So you would always want to look for hosting that can expand with the website. But pretty much WordPress is built that it can expand and it can handle a lot of people, a lot of users, a lot of subscribers, and so forth. And because it is such an open source and it allows for that ecosystem with self-hosting, you really can do pretty much anything with it that you want. You can build components, remove components, and so forth. WordPress grows with you. And then when we look at Shopify, so Shopify, the difference between Shopify and WordPress is Shopify is purely built for e-commerce. Okay, so if you're going to sell products, Shopify is built for that. Shopify is not built for if you want to have various different components, such as having, let's say, a service business and then selling a product and then having donations and then having video uploads and so forth. Shopify is purely for e-commerce. That is what they specialize in. That is what they excel in. Shopify is a SaaS platform, SaaS, okay? Meaning that they built their own little ecosystem, which means you do not have the flexibility as you do with WordPress. If you have a website with Shopify, that remains Shopify's property. So let's say, for example, you're not happy with Shopify raising their prices. You cannot take your Shopify website and put it on a different host. They do not allow for that. If you're not happy with their services, you have one of two options. Either you pay for the higher fees or you cancel your subscription. When you cancel your subscription, you lose your website completely because you are using Shopify's own ecosystem with their own servers, with their own apps, with their own integrations. So they do not have that diversity that WordPress allows because you are limited to function within their scope of the apps and things that they integrate. If you are only looking to do products, Shopify is a great place for that, okay? Because it is very easy, plug and play, user-friendly, all of it. But the fees do get dearer. As you will look at the plans, you will see that you pay for how much you actually add on, okay? And that is how they make the money. And so again, coming back to that example of brick and mortar businesses, you are renting the space with Shopify. You're not owning it, okay? But Shopify is basically e-commerce built for it. It does allow you to do some of the SEO components and structural data and all of it, but it is not as extensive and open source like WordPress. Then when we look at Wix, okay, so when we look at Wix, Wix is a very easy plug and play platform for people who just want a very simple website. So let's say all you need is a homepage, about page, and maybe a blog page. Then Wix would be that thing. So Wix, it's very easy to launch, very easy to build. But however, again, it has tiered plans for what you want to do with it, and your functionalities are much less restricted. So if you're looking at just something very simple, let's say for your business ministry, you know for a fact you're never going to want to build courses, you know for a fact you're never going to want to sell products, and all these various components that you might have. All you know is you're just going to need literally an about page, a homepage, or a blog page or something like that. Then Wix can be something that works for you. But Wix functions the same as Shopify. It's a SaaS platform, meaning that you can't just move it freely to a different host. Okay, Wix owns everything, the hosting and all of it. So if you cancel your plan, you lose that website. And the same with Squarespace. So Squarespace is one up from Wix. It allows for more complexities, but not as WordPress. And you have that same deal with the tiered pricing, also SaaS platform. Kajabi functions in the aspect of courses. So that is where it has its main focus, is on courses and memberships. It does allow sometimes for product selling and so forth in its different plans, but it's not built for e-commerce extensively. It's built extensively for courses and memberships. And so if you, again, Kajabi is a SaaS platform, if the pricing gets too much for you, you have to either cancel your subscription or pay what they put up. You don't have ownership of that website, but knowing that that is what it functions in. Now, why is it important for us to discuss these options? Because our world is changing very quickly. I don't need to tell you that, okay? You have to understand that the way that websites and reach on Google search has operated in the past no longer exists. With the implementation of AI, things have changed drastically in how you're being found on the internet with your website. Before, we had the massive push into traditional SEO, getting all that data so that you can rank the highest on Google. But as Google implemented its own AI, a lot of that has shifted in how websites are being found, and websites overnight lost traffic to their websites because of the new AI systems. People no longer find websites the old traditional way as they used to. They are now looking for the answers on these AI search platforms such as ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google Search AI, and so forth. And so it really changes the game. Why this is important for you to know is because the website platform you choose needs to be able to evolve and adapt just as quickly as the technology is. Now, when we are looking at these SaaS platforms, Shopify, Kajabi, Wix, and Squarespace, they have a lot of people putting money into those systems so that they can be on top of the game. But they have limitations. They still don't have as much developers as WordPress, because WordPress owns the 40% mark for most websites. You have a mass amount of developers constantly dedicated. So when these rule outs happen, they are the first to press changes through to the WordPress sites. And what is more, because WordPress is open source, it allows you to adapt to the requirements of AI. Now, you might not be a tech expert, so I'm not going to confuse your mind with all of it, but you need to understand that there are different components behind a website, such as schema markup, that is needed for AI to actually read the content on your website properly for it to pull it into the right search aspect. This is not something that is on the front look of the website, and that is what many people get wrong. You see, many people go, oh, I can create my own website, why not? But they don't understand the dynamics of the importance of how things need to actually work on the back end where they cannot see, so that the systems can actually read and understand what Google, Perplexity, and all these things are looking for. And if you do not understand that, you will lose out, right? So you have to build your website according to this new era of where things are moving in, so that you can still remain current and your website can adapt. So if you are on a restricted platform, and a new update comes in with AI, and this platform has not been able to rule out or integrate things immediately, then those who are building on, let's say, WordPress will be at the forefront because they can quickly and easily take components in and out as need be, get structured data in, all of those things, and launch and continue to launch very effectively. So does that mean if you use these SaaS platforms, you will be behind? Not at all. When you look at Shopify, you can see that they are putting in a lot of research and effort into AI for that platform to help it to stay on top. So they're not far off, okay? But what I want you to understand is you need to make a really good choice, not just for ease of building a website, okay? You have to think about the different components that are needed, similar as when you go and you buy a building for your business. You don't just go and buy a building for your business to just put stuff in the shop. You know that when you actually buy the building, you have maintenance, you have pipes, you have electricity, you have foundational structures, you have wear and tear, you have paint jobs, you have all these kind of different components that also help your shop function. So it's not just having the shell of it, right? And that is what people miss sometimes, is they think, I just put stuff on a website and that is it. No, it goes so far beyond that, okay? And so that is what I say, what you build on is going to either limit you or make you scale in the times to come. For me personally, I have built all my online businesses on WordPress. I have used SaaS platforms in the past, and that is where I quickly realized that first of all, I was restricted. I couldn't scale as I needed to. I couldn't add components as I needed to, and the pricing of the SaaS platforms became really expensive. And WordPress turned out to be the most cost effective for me because all I needed to do was getting a hosting service that would be fast, reliable, and allow me to scale and host my WordPress website. And then I had full autonomy in the website and being able to use the different components, whereas the other ones restricted it. When you build a business ministry, the tricky part is you don't always know where God is going with it, because sometimes God will shift elements, okay? Then he will remove one part, then he'll add a next, and so forth. Because the world changes and God moves forward. God doesn't just stay stationary. So if you're in business ministry, God might give you different components. And so for me personally, it just made a lot more sense to go onto a website or a website platform that is basically used by majority of people in the world, because first of all, that gives me that peace of mind knowing that there are so many developers in that and so many businesses in it that will be continuously sustained at the forefront and update with everything. I get to have it as an asset and not just as something that I rent. So the pricing, if that ever gets affected with hosting, I can really easily change that. I'm not limited, I'm not locked in, and I don't lose my website because of it. With the WordPress website, I actually have that ability to manually do backups as well, and not just cloud backups, because nowadays, I mean, if you have looked at the things that have recently happened with some of these big names, such as Microsoft that went offline, right, in a day, and the chaos it created, we have to realize that even though we have cloud backups, manual backups also have a place still, okay? Because if, let's say, online systems become corrupted, at least you have a physical copy that you can put back on the system once it is cleared up as well. And WordPress allows for you to do that. And so, yes, if you look at the down parts of WordPress, it is a little bit more, it requires a lot more learning for ease of use and all of it. Whereas these other platforms on SaaS, which is very easy, drag and drop, it's easy to learn. But for me, the payoff has been anything that is easy in life does not necessarily pay off. It's usually the things that are a bit more harder and a bit more complex that actually gives the greater value in the long run. And that is what WordPress gave me. So I'm not here to try and convince you. I'm here to share with you that you need to actually sit down with the Lord and go, God, what is our vision for the business ministry? What platform do we need to utilize? Because if God is telling you that all you need to do is sell products, then hey, go for Shopify. Don't even worry about WordPress. But if God is telling you, look, we are going to build this big vision, and it might have a shop, and it might have courses, and it might have memberships, and it might have a blog, and it might have this and that, go with WordPress, because you don't want to rebuild your whole system. Like I said, if you ever cancel on one of these SaaS platforms, you lose your website. You cannot take everything and just place it on the WordPress. You can download your content, like your images and the wording, and then you have to rebuild it all in WordPress. But you cannot just migrate it into a WordPress, and that is what you need to understand. The platform you're going to choose this year is very, very important. Get the foundations right. Again, my recommendation is WordPress, to adapt with the AI world as we are going, even if it is a little bit more complex and hard. But for business ministry, I have found that that is the best way, because you can literally add components in and out as need be without it being specific on a certain aspect. I hope this video has helped you. I hope it has given you a bit more understanding and a bit more clarity with regards to different platforms. If you do need to launch a business ministry, we do build websites. I have 2 businesses that actually focus on website design and hosting, and so we would love to help you in that regard as well. If you know of anyone who is thinking about having an online business and they need to understand the platforms, please feel free to share this video with them so that they can learn the differences between the platforms, so they can make the right decision for them moving forward.